in the conversation, I was sharing how I reached this season where I wasn't really feeling anything. I had been depressed for a little bit, and I had to make a choice to still worship even though I wasn't feeling the emotions that you typically feel in worship. Like, you feel the presence of God, and I had to choose to declare that truth even though my emotions weren't matching that truth. I got to a place where I didn't really feel anything anymore. Like, I just was so down that I didn't really even feel it. I didn't want to go through the motions. I was very aware of, like, I don't want to live a life that's going through the motions, but I felt like I don't have anything to offer. I don't feel anything right now when I'm trying to worship. I don't feel anything like I had before when I'd been in these broken seasons, and you broke that thing in me so that I could be whole again, God. And I remember in that season of not feeling anything, what I love about worship is you're still declaring truth. And so I didn't feel anything, but I knew that was the only thing that I could do. It was just declare the truth, even though it wasn't connecting to my heart. I remember the day that depression kind of lifted off of my life, and it was like this heavy cloud that weighed on me. And when God removed that, it's kind of like there you are, not because he wasn't there, but because I wasn't aware of who he created me to be in that season of, and you kind of lose your sense of identity. And when you're going through such a hard time of, God created us to worship and be in relationship with him, and sometimes these things we go through in life cause us to withdraw and pull back. And I knew my head said, I know I need to be in a relationship with God, I love God, but my emotions weren't following that. And so I found myself withdrawing from worship and not really making that time and that space for him. And so when I chose to declare that truth, even though I wasn't feeling it, I felt the presence of God come back into my life. And not because he left, but because I wasn't choosing to be aware of that presence. And not choosing, I guess, but more, I wasn't aware of that presence and how we're created to worship. And when we walk through these different seasons, we are reminded of who we are and who he's created us to be when we get into his presence. And it's so great that even though I wasn't aware, he always knew who I was. And I remember the day where it lifted. And you go through those seasons where you're not feeling it, but then something changes, and I can see you now. And there's this cloud that's trying to haze your perspective and your sight of God, and you kind of lose touch and reality, and you don't even feel like reality is even real. Like, what is going on right now? Right. And that cloud lifted, and it's like, I can see you now. I can see the love in your eyes, and life so easily, the things we go through can cause us. That's what the enemy wants, is to not see that love in his eyes. Sometimes the brokenness that we're going through, maybe because life's happening, or it's the decisions I've made that have put me in this space. And he's never looking at us, condemning us. He just always has love in his eyes for us, and he always just wants to meet us there. And there's so many times in worship where I get back to that place where I'm like, I'm not feeling anything, and then I feel him nudging, hey, just come worship. Mm-hmm. And I do. And I've had so many moments where I hear him say, there you are. And it's not because he wasn't there, it's because I wasn't showing up. And when I come back to that place, he's like, there you are. Mm-hmm. And just so many powerful moments of God. He just wants to remind us that he's there. I think that's what I love about worship, is it's, again, this awareness. He's just there.
Yeah.
And we forget it sometimes. And so when we take that time to recenter and refocus and to remind ourselves of the goodness of God, he reminds us again of who we are. And it's that back and forth of, I was created to worship and he's being worshiped. And when I worship, I'm being filled up. And yeah, I think it's really important to, no matter what we're going through, in the highs and the lows, even when our emotions aren't matching the knowledge that we know God is good. I know he's good, but I don't feel like it's good right now. You still have to make a choice to put yourself in his presence, because he will meet